Now, with the preponderance of research papers and different research findings all over the world, the systematic review and meta-analysis has been described as the future of academic research and evidence-based investigation. It occupies the topmost in the pyramid of evidence-based research all over the world. In this video, we're going to look at what it is, the principle guiding its conduct, and the reason for its high rating. This is Research and Statistics, and my name is Dr. Felix Ayodele Oyileye. Let's get started. It's important to mention that systematic review and meta-analysis is an innovative field of study that requires collaborative efforts from different players to actually contribute to the success and equality research outputs. Even though it is a novel area, every researcher must endeavor to develop skill so that he or she can build his or her career in this all-important field. But we must understand that there are several players that must be involved. That is the only condition that guarantees a quality research paper. Over 550,000 systematic reviews are being indexed annually with about 10% growth from year to year across the globe today, because it has been established that it is an essential tool for evidence-based practice and policy development. So we're going to look at what systematic review itself is all about. So, number one, it is a comprehensive study. It tries to look at all possible findings, all possible research findings in a particular field, on a particular study, or sometimes on a particular subject. Maybe we talk of cancers, the various research findings, publication in the field of cancer therapy, or maybe in the field of HIV or COVID-19. So when we are able to pull together all the different findings on a particular study, it becomes so comprehensive, and we can do a broad comparison of the findings in these different fields of research. And of course, it's make use of a predefined method. A predefined method is adopted in systematic review to actually enhance its reproducibility. Okay? And the idea is to minimize bias through transparency. So there are protocols to follow when we conduct systematic review. And the whole idea is to ensure that whatever we have discovered, or whatever findings we come up with at the end of the day, others can go back to it, follow the same procedure, and come up with something similar or exactly like we have figured out. So systematic review intends to identify similar research studies. Okay, sometimes you can have like 20, sometimes it could be up to 50 or even 100 in some research publication on systematic review. And then we put these studies together and we want to evaluate how was the study conducted, what are the methods used, what are the findings, and we compare these findings together. So it's a form of studies that adopt a synthesizing approach. We synthesize findings from different studies, and then we make use of a well-defined protocol that ensure transparency and predefined protocol that would make sure that bias is reduced. And of course, it also uses specific research question approach, which is described as a PICO format. Okay, now the question is, why do we conduct systematic review? The goal of systematic review is to help us synthesize ideas. With the preponderance of research findings all over the world on similar subjects, the researchers all over the world have realized that one way to harness the finding and make a uniform, solid decision on the finding of research is to harness different research findings together on similar subjects and then see how they can make a careful comparison of the findings of this independent publication or research finding, and then arrive at a single conclusion. So it is based on the need to synthesize evidence. And again, it also helps to identify possible gaps for future research. And that is the second point there. So in the course of systematic review, we are able to identify other possible gaps that other researchers or research workers can actually venture into. And then it makes use of a protocol that is designed to reduce bias, okay, across the different studies, so that we can have an increased credibility at the end of the day. And this is why it's a very wonderful tool in decision making. In fact, findings of systematic review are being used as serious guideline for clinical practice all over the world, public health policy all over the world as well. Okay, now let's look at the different steps of systematic review from planning to searching. Okay, the first step is protocol development. Okay, it's important before a systematic review is conducted, a protocol must be developed. Protocol is like having a kind of proposal concept, a plan on how that particular study will be conducted. And this protocol has to be registered. Okay, and the goal is to enhance transparency and also prevent bias in the course of conducting our review. And number two is to formulate the PICO question. That is the second step. The PICO question is defined as population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. We want to establish what is the target population. For instance, if we are talking about cancer therapy all over the world, we are talking about human population. Okay, what is the intervention? Is there a particular extract? Is there a particular drug? Is there a particular procedure that has been used across different, been investigated across different studies? So we want to look at the intervention, and then we want to compare the findings, and then we want to have a precise consideration of the outcome at the end of the day. Now, the third step is comprehensive search strategy. Like I mentioned earlier on, that systematic review is a collaborative research that requires several research workers coming together to play different roles for thoroughness, for credibility at the end of the day. So, because in the course of systematic review, we'll be looking at multiple bases. We'll be looking at control vocabulary. We'll be doing extensive search using different online tools to actually search for findings, for research articles that are within the same field, that are on the similar subject. So, the fourth step here is the study selection. You see, like I mentioned, that it requires several individuals participating. So sometimes we have to have two independent reviewers to screen the title, to look at the abstract. Full tests are also reviewed against inclusion criteria. We also make use of the PRISMA flow diagram to ensure transparent reporting. And the fifth step is that there's the area of data extraction. These are rigorous procedures that require people working side by side, working in harmony to actually get credible findings. So data extraction will involve standard form of collection of relevant data, the study design that have been used, participant characteristic, and outcome. We are comparing several studies at the same time, and we're looking at the different way independent individual researcher have been able to conduct that particular study, the study design, and we are trying to put them side by side and establish similarity and check out the common findings at the end of the day. Now, for data extraction, we often use the Covidence software to extract our data, and it has great precision in terms of 95% agreement. Okay, so what are the key steps of systematic review? Still, number 6 is the risk of bias assessment. So we have about 8 steps. We have risk bias assessment. We want to critically look at the methodology used in the course of that particular research against each study. And then number 7, we look at the data synthesis. How was the data able to be aggregated together? Are we looking at qualitative data or quantitative data analysis? And number 8, then we now do what we call the interpretation of the results. So we want to summarize the finding in all these publication or research findings, and then we want to look at the limitation of individual research, and then we want to follow the PRISMA guideline in reporting our findings. So, but the second aspect of systematic review is the meta-analysis. The meta-analysis is the statistical component of systematic review. Okay, so it makes use of statistical technique to look at the quantitative results that were obtained from this independent study, and then we want to put all this together. Number 1, to increase statistical power. For instance, if a study had used 20 samples, another used 20 samples, and then another used 20 samples, at the end of the day, when we pull all the studies together, what we have done is that we have increased the sample size for a single study, and that implies an increase in the power and precision of that particular study. And this will also help us to dictate even a small effect, even at the end of the day. So number 1, statistical technique, increasing power, and homogeneity is ensured in the design requirements. Okay, that is for the meta-analysis. Now, how do we interpret the meta-analysis component of systematic review and meta-analysis? Number 1 is the pool effect. We look at the pool effect. Now, this is the single summary of the overall effect. We want to have a single summary of the overall effect size in that particular study. Number 2, we talk about the heterogeneity. The heterogeneity tries to look at the variations, the little variations we have in individual research that we are comparing. So we want to quantify the variation across the study. And number 3, we also come up with a forest plot. The forest plot is the graphical display of the individual and the combined effects. So with the aid of our forest plot, we can establish significance, and we can establish significant finding between all these studies. Okay, so what are the advantages of our systematic review and what are the limitations? Number 1, it is the strongest evidence. Systematic review and meta-analysis is topmost in the pyramid of evidence in academic research, be it medical research or other form of research. But it's important to understand that the rigorous process of ensuring quality data are pulled together, relevant studies are put together, is very, very important because the principle of garbage in and garbage out is still central to the credibility of our systematic review finding. Number two is that it increases power because we are putting together different sample sizes from different independent studies. The implication is that we now have a very big single study that has an additional effect of the individual sample sizes. So it eventually increases the power of that particular single study. But another limitation is that it's prone to publication bias. Okay, so more generalizable finding because we are bringing together independent findings and we are establishing the point of correlation between these findings and making a single deduction. But at the same time, it is time consuming. It could take up to 6 to 18 months to conduct a credible, valid systematic review and meta-analysis, and this is why it requires the collaboration of several researchers on different fields. So it offers very great opportunity for researchers to actually up their game because systematic review itself is the future of academic research. So advancing evidence-based decision is important to synthesize research because with time there will be several individuals working on same subjects. Now, researchers all over the world have realized that it is important to pull together the finding of these several researches, the several publications, and have a common position. Okay, so that is one of the great implications of systematic review, and it will also guide our practice, inform practice. It will guide our clinical practice and be a strong tool in policy making. And it also ensures trust because we are looking rigorously at the methodology of independent study, and then we are comparing it together to have the best approach to investigate a particular subject matter. And again, it also identifies direction. It gives direction for future investigation. In other words, it identifies gaps. If there are gaps in the previous study that we compare, the systematic review easily identifies that and it makes recommendation for further study. So systematic review is such a wonderful field of academic research that every researcher should endeavor to actually venture into. The institution can collaborate together to look at a particular area of subject, a particular field of study, to actually work together, pool resources together, pool different studies together, and conduct something meaningful that will give us a common denominator at the end of the day. Now, this is the module we are going to take on systematic review and meta-analysis. It is still research and statistics, and my name is Dr. Felix Ayodele Ileye. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for listening.